In a world where every day an AI guru will tell you that this is the next killer of ChatGPT. This is the next killer of your team. This is the next AI tool that is going to automate 100% your business. I'm here to tell you that, before I get into this, let you see my face, I'm going to tell you that in order to have a business, even in the AI revolution, in order to have a business that runs completely without you and is sustainable and will do the things that you want it and need it to do and maximize your team, maximize you, maximize your bottom line, it still and will always come down to how to build documented systems that your team will love, and now AI will also love. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to show you real world examples of how you can do some pretty amazing things by blending AI with your human documented systems. You'll never be able to get rid of both. You'll never be able to use just one from here on out unless you wanted to lose to your competition, unless you wanted to pay a lot more than you would want to pay in your business as well. So, all right, before we get into that, my name is Dean Soto. I am the founder of prosulum.com. We have real life people that we call virtual systems architects who are like virtual assistants, but they have superpowers. They take your task. Like a typical virtual assistant is going to take your task, they're going to do it, and then they're going to ask you questions about it. Hey, you said that you wanted this, and how do you do this? And then they'll give you a result that's not exactly what you want. Well, a virtual systems architect takes what you show them, they document it step by step with pictures and visuals and everything like that. In fact, I'll show you one that is an example, and then they will actually do that task. And every task you show them gets documented into another process and another until your whole entire business is a huge checklist that anyone can do, including your virtual systems architect, who is a fraction of the cost of an in-house employee. And your business will run without you because nobody's going to be asking you questions because they know exactly what to do. They know exactly what you want. They know exactly the output that you want to see, and that will move your business forward. So all that being said, move this over here. All that being said, let's get into this right now. Let me shrink myself real quick. All right, as much as possible to where you can still see me a little bit. This presentation, by the way, was done by AI. And yes, it is off to the side a little bit. Let me see if I can move this a little bit without messing things up. There we go. Let me pause this and just see if everything else is intact. All right, cool. So everything's intact. This presentation, the entire thing was built by AI. It has all of the knowledge base of my company. And I essentially said, hey, give me a presentation on how to build documented systems that you would like and our team would like, and how to mix the two so that it's a symbiotic relationship. Because when you look at the biggest companies, yes, you might be a small business, you might be a solopreneur. Hopefully, as a solopreneur, you're starting to branch out into delegation, because delegation is the real automation when it comes to business. As you start delegating out as a small business owner, you're going to start to see why companies like Amazon, companies like SpaceX, Tesla, companies like Walmart, whatever, these huge companies, why despite the amount of money that they can spend on AI, on automation, on software, on robots, and everything like that still require humans to do specific things. It will always be that way. It does not matter how scary some guru or some political activist or whomever tried to make it sound. Just because computers came around doesn't mean that humans were pushed out of every single role. In fact, I used to have this presentation where it showed a whole bunch of people who were in this room and they were writing stuff. It looks like they were calculating stuff. Well, there used to be an actual job designation, especially in aerospace companies, that were called computers. You were a computer because you would compute these complex mathematical formulas that engineers needed. Like literally, that was a human job description. When a computer, an electronic computer came out, did that mean that those people were completely out of a job and they went poor and the computers took over the world? No. They just had to move on to something else. And that's what's going to happen with AI. And so don't worry about it, guys. We're good. We're good. All right, cool. So this is AI's presentation on what it loves and what it thinks its human friends would love in their team, their business team. Simple, scalable systems for the AI era. Okay. So I had to do this in a PDF form. So if things are kind of messed up, I can't really fix them on the fly. So because the format wasn't working if I put it into PowerPoint. All right, so why most people fail why most people fail, why most systems fail, and why people hate them. Look, traditional documentation, it's usually too complex and overwhelming. What I mean by that is typical process documentation is like a narrative. It's paragraphs of what the person should be doing, not a step-by-step document. It needs to be step-by-step. It needs to be something that is modular, is do this, then this, then this, then this, with pictures and so on and so forth. A lot of those big narrative type process documents are created once and then completely abandoned because nobody wants to edit them. Nobody wants to read them again. They don't even know what it. They don't use them on a day-to-day basis. So they don't. Once they have been there for a year and they go back, who wants to read a book of something that nobody's even doing anyway, right? Because they're disconnected from the daily work. Now, the average employee spends 9.3 hours per week searching for information they need to do their job. That means almost 40 hours a month of just searching for information because it's not done in a systematic process checklist that should happen. Okay. You need to be clear in your process. They need to be consistent. They need to be scalable. And the automation, AI can do all the automation parts, but then the humans are kind of like the bridge between the two. They can execute certain processes without constant supervision, but then humans are the bridge between one to the next, and the next, and next, which I'll show you what I mean by that in just a little bit. The biggest thing is that it's so clear that your grandma can do it. It's so clear that you can give that document to anyone, and it's so consistent, it's so clear that anyone can do it, and that creates scalability, okay? Because if anyone can do it, that means you get a new hire in. Your manager can literally just give them a document and not have to necessarily train them on everything, okay? The idea is to create something that you can document once and then use forever. And does that mean it's never going to change? No. It's easy to change. You can see where a process breaks down. You can see where things are if there's a user interface change, let's say you're with your payment processor or something like that, you can very quickly change the picture of the user interface, right? And change what step needs to change. Okay. You have this one. Typically, the way that I have ours set up is ours is in Google Drive, and it'll be coded based on a number. The number of the folder is something like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. So 1.0 might be general administrative tasks. 2.0 might be payment processors. 3.0 might be something like marketing. 4.0 might be sales. And so within that folder, that 4.0 folder, there might be something like where to find sales scripts, which is 4.1. 4.2, how to use sales scripts prior to your sales call. 4.2, how to set up your user account in ActiveCampaign, whatever it might be. It might be something like any of those, but it's all coded under that same sales folder. So it's updated in one place and changes propagate everywhere. I wonder if you can you do, never presented with a PDF before, but this is pretty cool. So you have AI doing the things that are kind of a repetitive thing, but then you have your documented process where your humans can keep kind of get things moving, and I'll show you a little bit more of that in a little bit. Okay. The time saved with document once approach. And why do we do this? This is why we have virtual systems architects in the first place. You show them how to do something, and they don't just go and do it. They document based off of the video that you sent them, step by step, everything. Okay. So now it's documented, it's done, it's in your process folder. Now they know exactly where to look every single time. And if they get asked by their teammate or somebody else, hey, how do you do XYZ? They just say, oh, that's in document folder. It's 4.2 in document folder 4.0. Okay. Or you can just say, because everyone knows that the document folder structure, oh yeah, that's process 4.6. So they go to the 4.0 and then they find the 4.6 document number, right? Average time saved with the document once approach, 73%. That is freaking awesome, right? All right. So complex systems, the thing is, when I started doing information products back in the day, I had this group called the Online Empire Academy, and I used Infusionsoft at the time, which is now Keep. And I built this huge complex system that would guide people through an entire process of going from not knowing how to sell on Amazon at all to making their first sale. And it would ask questions, it would ping them, it would do all these different things. And if you looked at the workflow, it was just complex. It was so all over the place. It worked. But once something broke, everything broke. And so really what you want to start building are these kind of modular little systems that the system, the AI workflow, let's just say, or the AI agent, there's two types of workflow. There's workflows, just automations, workflow automations, and then there's agentic workflows, which is there's an AI agent in there that makes some kind of decision that is able to think and is able to do something. Okay. Either one of those, when you have them partitioned out, like one thing doing one workflow or one agentic workflow doing one thing, and then it connects to a human, that's when you can you're not going to run into the issue of one thing breaks and everything breaks. Okay. So complex systems, one, they intimidate users. You're making it so your team can't fix anything, can't do anything, because you're the only one probably that understands the entire complex system, right? And if not, it's going to require a lot of training on make.com and N8N and all this other stuff, right? If something breaks, that's a small little workflow. You can get somebody from Fiverr or something like that to come in, look at it and go, oh, this is what it's trying to do. Or you can even get AI to fix it, which in another video, I'll show you how I use AI to create these workflows, or to take the skeleton I've created and then make it an actual working workflow. And they break easily when a condition changes, right? So these little simple systems, these simple things that are very modular, they get adopted quickly. They adapt to changing conditions. They actually get used daily. And you want to constantly look for things to remove, simplify, and streamline. Be a curator, sticks to what's truly essential. And it's from the book Rework. I love Rework. If you've never read Rework, it is the business book of all business books. Okay. So I'm going to pause this and I'm going to actually load up one of my processes real quick. Okay. Just to give you an idea of what I mean by being, as checklisty as possible. Here is an example of one that we do. This is an older process that we have, but essentially this is 5.22, which means that this corresponds to one of our like marketing folders, right? So this 5.22, how to respond to positive responses to a podcast and to podcast invite. So we have a podcast called Freedom in 5 Minutes. I haven't done it in a while, so the episodes are still up, but I mainly do YouTube and stuff right now. And it says right here, look, this process will show you how to respond to the initial positive response to come in on our Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. This is after we have sent the cold emails out and they've responded positively saying, yes, they would be open to coming on and finding out more about the show. Okay. And so right here, step-by-step instructions. First thing you're going to do is bold, so you know it's an action. We always bold our actions. Log into Close CRM and check the inbox for any positive responses. Note, if you don't have access to Close CRM, or if you haven't installed the app on your computer, then you can go to process 5.21, how to import podcast outreach first line cold emails to Close CRM. And it'll show you how to install Close CRM. So even before they start this, they're like, oh, okay, I don't have Close CRM. How do I get it? Oh, I go to 5.21. And so then we have the pictures starting. We have pictures showing specifically where to. So if they did have this, it says, if you see an email with a positive response, just click on it. Boom. And it'll bring you to the last email they sent. Once you have the email open, confirm it is a positive response before you click the reply button. There's the reply button. There's an arrow pointing to it. Super simple. Okay. And this says the email shown in the image below is obviously not an actual positive response, but we're going to use it as an example. Okay, clicking on the reply button will let us reply only to that one person, even if there are other people included in the email. After that, you should be able to see the person's name and email in the to field. There's the to field. It's all highlighted. Boop, 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 boop. What you want to do is action, bolded, click on where it says choose a template. Boom, right there, arrow pointed to that. And then scroll down to FIFM podcast positive response template. Boom. Okay. Very, very, very simple. Everything is shown on the video, on the image. It's highlighted. It's done in a way where it's going to be very hard to mess up. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to this type of stuff. Okay. All right. So you want humans working together. Okay. That's why in this is an older one, but you have the automation of closed CRM that knows the intent of the person responding. And so if it was positive, boom, it would let you know that was the kind of the sentiment. And now the human can make an action out of it. Okay. And so then the human sends off the next thing and AI takes over. Okay. So human documentation needs context, reasoning, and judgment calls that explain why. That's why we had that paragraph in the beginning, right? AI needs structured data, clear steps, and explicit rules. Shared documentation needs clear processes, consistent formats, and accessible information. Okay. You want it to serve both humans and AI. All right. So this is a kind of a simple framework. So you can have your process map. Generally, I don't do process maps because they take a little bit too much time. I like to have documentation, and I start at 2. I start at step-by-step instruction. Like the process map, in fact, you could probably now, and I never thought of doing this, I could probably do this with manus.im. I could probably feed in an entire folder of a specific or like a multitude of process documents, feed it in there, say, hey, keep me, make me a workflow, and it will make the workflow for me. But I don't, the process map for me. But I start with the step-by-step instructions. That's the most important thing. When you have step-by-step instructions, that's why here, I don't necessarily need a process map if somebody's like, okay, I don't have close CRM, this just tells them, go friggin' install close CRM in 5.21. Okay. But you're always going to have these connection points between the process and the automation, or between the human and the automation. Okay. So the AI gives these examples of like lead generation, like a lead capture form, does the validation and data enrichment. This is actually true. I'm going to actually show you what I do with mine. Lead qualification. The human actually defines the qualification criteria, and that's typically done in the software, which you'll see. The AI can score, flag high value leads, things like that. And then there's lead nurturing with the follow-up. I actually have AI creating the nurturing for the human to then send, and basically tells the human, send it on this day, send it on that day, send it on this day. And then conversion, once a client happens, or when the person becomes a client, then automation kicks in again, finds out things about the client, and then kicks it off to our onboarding team. So I'll show you some examples of this real quick. So it gives a bunch of different little examples, but I'm going to just go straight into mine. Oh, this actually just added this when I edited something. That's interesting. I'm going to have to read through that one. Anyway, all right. So I'll give you an example of I'm going to give you an example of a simple system that is similar to the lead gen system right here, and how it goes from AI, from human to AI to human to AI to human. Okay. So this is the customer enrichment, which I've shown in the past. This is my customer enrichment flow. We set up a Calendly that asks survey questions ahead of time. So when somebody schedules a discovery call to see if a virtual systems architect is right for them, they'll get on the Calendly, and they'll be asked a series of qualifying questions that humans created. When that happens, this checks and says, is this a sales call, or is this a just somebody else using like Calendly for, say, like a VSA interview or something like that? If it is a sales call, it goes and checks people data labs, it checks Apollo IO, it goes and scrapes their company website, it does a whole bunch of different things. And basically, if let's say somebody comes in with a Gmail address, it will not scrape their website because then you'll be scraping Gmail. If it comes with a domain that's an actual domain, like for a company domain, it'll start scraping their website. It'll find everything it possibly can about them, and then it'll summarize the entire no, everything about this particular prospect, and then it'll send an email to our sales team and give them a full-on report on this person, pain points, how a VSA could help their business to grow, and everything you could possibly think. It's just a huge dossier on the person and how best to serve that person. And then it sends that email, and then it'll put all that information into Active Campaign for the prospect as well. So we have a bunch of custom tags and stuff like that, custom fields that now we know everything about that person that as possible, like that we could possibly know. In fact, I'll probably have this when this is done, it'll actually kick off to it'll bring the data to another AI that will even make it more clear in Active Campaign in a way that becomes actionable and probably even takes follow-up steps and things like that with that person. But that's in the future. So what happens is we created the Calendly survey. Then AI does the heavy lifting. Then it passes over to the sales, to our sales team, or to our lead strategists, to our strategists, and then the strategists get on the call and helps the client no matter what. If they help them, even if they decide to move forward with us, great. If they don't, they're still going to be better off because our guys help to give them an idea of how to grow their business, even if they're not a good fit for us. So that's really cool. And then once they get off the call, boom, it kicks off a Zoom call analyzer and gives an entire rundown of how the call went, and then tells the sales guy how to follow up. Is this a good lead? What's the probability of the lead closing? Can we help them? If not, then here are some things that you can send to the lead just to add value to their lives. If they are a good fit, then here are some things that'll help to get them started. And then once they become a client, I have another one I can't show because it has sensitive data. Once they pay and they start becoming a client, then it kicks off an automation to get them onboarded. And then it goes to our onboarding team, a human after that. And then from our onboarding team, it goes to our HR team with an automation. And then the HR team does the automation up until the interviews. And then once it's just back and forth. Okay. It's amazing what you're able to do. And then you can do something super simple like this is a simple support bot in Make that my team is able to use. And what they do is, rather than having to log into ChatGPT and give context and all this other stuff, or log into some AI, they can just email our bot, and our bot will reply to them with the answer. And the bot knows everything about our business. It has all of our documentation, has all of our context, and it can help in a variety of ways. If a customer has a concern, it'll draft emails, it'll give action plans, it'll give all these different things. So the human is able to read and understand the customer, what's going on with the customer, and then goes to the AI and says, "Hey, what do you think in this case?" And then the AI gives a whole strategy or whole action plan or whole draft email or whole like whatever it is. It can be for a customer, it could be for their personal life, it could be for anything. And it's just a simple flow, right? But we have documented processes that basically say, hey, if you have a question, if a customer asks this, or if you run into this situation, go to this support bot and say bup, or ask whatever it is. Okay. I also have this customer sentiment flow that basically checks our all of my Gmail on a 4 hourly basis and sees what customers are saying. Are they happy? Are they sad? It tells me right away a customer that we need to talk to, and then I can then talk to my guys, and then they can then go to the AI here and say, hey, how best can I respond to this client, or how best can I serve this client? This is how you build these robust systems, like one little thing at a time. It's not something that does everything, but there's a documented process, and there is a one time. So there's a documented thing process that solves one problem, and then it gets handed off to AI, and then AI hands it off back to a human, and so on and so forth. That's how you create these modular processes, modular systems that both humans and AI love. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of this. So yeah, personalized welcome call from a human. That's so good. Account setup and welcome materials are sent. Um, gathering information from the client. We actually do that ahead of time with the customer enrichment, and we have a couple of other things too. And then strategy session, which this is totally what we do. This is from AI. It's so cool. And then, training and milestone reviews, progress tracking. So we have something very similar to this. Okay. So you can use things like Zapier, Make, N8N, and then LLMs, but they're all connected either to each other or to a documented system. And in between all of these are also humans. Okay. Zapier is never going to solve all your problems. N8N is never going to solve all your problems. Make's never going to solve all your problems. And a large language model like OpenAI is not going to solve all your problems. It's documented systems, delegation to humans, and processes that AI loves. So you already saw make documentation visual and usable. We are visual creatures. Adoption rates increase by 64% when using visual documentation. Okay. Visual documentation. And I already showed you actually, that's why we use pictures. It's very difficult to mess up when you have pictures showing where it is. If a UI changes, then you have your VSA say, hey, this is an update to 5.22. The UI changed. So when you're on page 123, then you're going to go here. Rather than it being right here, it's up here. So if you can update that, that'd be great. And so then they go in and they update the picture. That's it. Or they update whatever they need to update. Okay, so ultimately, when you delegate well, you have strong documented processes. You have them. You have your AI, your automations, your software, and your humans working all together. You have freedom for yourself, freedom for the owner. It allows you to step away without everything falling apart. It allows your business to scale. It gives clarity to your teams and efficiency with AI. AI actually gets used in the right way. Okay, the ultimate goal isn't just better documentation, it's creating a business that works for you instead of you working for it. This is AI telling you this, okay? AI is not saying AI can solve everything. It's basically saying, look, you need to get back to business basics, systems basics, documentation, standard operating procedures basics, and that's how you get AI working for you. You can't avoid it. Okay? I'm going to go through just quickly the rest of this. You don't want to over-engineer your SOPs. You want to keep them simple. Like I said, don't over-engineer your processes. We already kind of talked about that. Your systems, one flow for one problem. And you can have like an orchestrator that orchestrates it. But even that, it's not as good as people are trying to make it out to be. Okay. Orchestrator should probably be a human right now. But ultimately start with one process. This is why when you become a client with us, it's like, what's your biggest pain? Let's document that first. It'll take you 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes on a video, show what it is, let it get documented, let somebody else do it. And you're either going to save 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week of something you don't want to do, or you're going to make money because it's something that's generating income. Okay. Just one thing, start with it. 5-10 minutes, it's documented, let somebody else do it. And then document as you go, measure the results, and integrate AI early into the process. And I agree on that. Okay, that's supposed to have something there, but it doesn't. If this sounds cool to you, if you're ready to not be the solopreneur that has a shiny new object called AI and thinks that it's going to do everything for you, if you are the business owner that's constantly fighting fires, even with AI, even with software, even with the next shiny thing, give us a call. You don't even have to call us. You can go to prosulum.com/schedule and hop on Calendly. You'll see our system actually work that I just kind of showed you. You won't see the emails coming through, but you'll see how prepared our team is to help you. And even if you're not a good fit, our team will help you where you're at and give you some amazing ideas on how to get to the next level and stuff. And so either way, it's going to be a win-win for you. So if that's you, if you're constantly putting out fires, if you're delegating, if you're spending too much on labor, if you're paying minimum wage in California, it's like 20 something dollars here pretty much. I mean, minimum wage here is nuts. It's about half the cost. Sometimes it depends on who you're getting. No matter what, it's less than minimum wage, even if you got the top tier VSA. No payroll tax, no workman's comp, nothing, none of the headaches, things like that. And you get a scalable business as well as somebody that you can delegate to, take everything off your hands and just grow your entire business. Then go check out prosulum.com, prosulum.com/schedule, or you can just go to prosulum.com and would love to see you there. So that's it. Start documenting your processes. Start creating workflows that solve one thing and pass it on to the next human, and then back and forth and back and forth. And you'll start having a business that works without you, and a business that runs smoothly, and a business where you are embracing the constraints that allow you to save a ton of overhead cost, but still do 10 times, 100 times more than your competition ever could. All right. So as Dean Soto, check out prosulum.com/schedule, and I'll see you in the next video.